Lobelia cardinalis. This is hummingbird food. A lot of hummingbird nectars and bird seed that's sold can actually cause diabetes and other health issues, as they're not actually a very balanced nutritious diet for them. So planting the right plants for our wildlife is really the best way to be sustainable for your own wallet and garden upkeep, but also for the birds and the bees, making sure that they get exactly what they need. Many nectars and seeds are filled with preservatives, which are really unhealthy for them, along with high fat contents and high sugar contents, to make sure that they're attracted to the bird seed, but it doesn't actually help them out too much. The other thing is putting out those feeders sometimes so religiously can do things like right now there's a lot of bird diseases going around because people are not properly cleaning their feeders. You really need to be out there cleaning your feeders every couple of days, making sure that things aren't rotting. Cleaning in between bird visits is important. Birds can carry diseases that they transfer to each other. And that's a lot of work. Nice bird seed, while it is good to put out from a local place during times of year when there's not a lot for birds to eat, it can just be very cumbersome and very expensive over time to really try and just maintain feeders as a means to keep our birds happy. The best thing to do is to plant their favorite plants, and the hummingbirds absolutely love Lobelia cardinalis, and it blooms just after the Monarda Jacobs-Klein's kind of stopped its first bloom for the season. You can shop the Monarda back and get a second bloom for sure for later in the summer. But the Lobelia cardinalis will be right behind it, nice and tall, to attract them and feed them until your Monarda Jacob-Klein takes off again towards the end of the summer. We're going to take a short walk to some of our other lobelia. All this lobelia is grown just a few minutes up the road here, actually at the nursery where you come to shop. It's at a location that's off to the side, that's not open to the public. We carry a couple different varieties of lobelia that we grow up there. We're going to take a first look at Lobelia Starship Rose. It's got a wine-colored foliage. It's going to have deep magenta pink colored blooms. Here's a great example right here of that coming out. It's a later bloomer than the cardinalis. So it would be a great one to pair with it, so you get two different bloom times with your lobelia. It's also quite clearly more compact, a shorter variety. I don't know that it'll attract hummingbirds as much, but the slightly smaller, shorter plant might do better with other insects and pollinators, so that can be helpful. Likes the same conditions as the cardinalis, but is smaller and has slightly different foliage. Over here we have the Syphilitica, as a classic. This blue flower is loved by bees. Similar in foliage to the cardinalis, but a blue color, also slightly later bloomer, and a nice pairing with that to continue your bloom season as well. And we're going to take a quick walk to the shorter black truffle variety. It's over there. This is a great example of how lobelia can also act as a ground cover. Once it's done blooming, you can cut off the stalks. Now, if you do that and create a ground cover, leave the seed heads somewhere in the bed or scatter them around. That way, your biannual lobelia will come back for you. If you don't do that and you take away the seed heads, after a year or two, maybe even 3 years, you'll get lucky, but it'll start to peter out and stop arriving for you and showing up. This has a really rich foliage, kind of a deep merlot. And this has a growth habit much more similar to the cardinalis, except it has a darker foliage and it's a much shorter plant overall. As opposed to the 36 to 42 inches on the cardinalis, this is hitting more at 20 to 30 inches at the most. And those are the Lobelia cardinalis that we have in stock right now. We'll show you a video of our stuff at our berm, living in a natural environment. showcasing both this variety and the first variety, Lobelia cardinalis. Here we are back at our berm to show off how Lobelia naturalizes really nicely, especially when it's in a predominantly wet area, poor soil area, someplace it's not been amended, an area that is left to its own devices. This is it appears to be the black truffle variety that we carry, with beautiful dark foliage coming out nice and true to this cultivar. This looks like it's bloomed a little earlier than ours in the nursery, and that does happen. You'll see stuff blooming sometimes at the nursery a little earlier or later than other stuff, due to it not being really normal conditions when it's in a pot and set inside a kind of an artificial environment like a greenhouse. But out here in nature, it's going to do its thing, and as we can see, this has been in full bloom for a little while now, and it's starting to peter out. It looks nice layered in here, all natural. It will continue to slowly self-seed and fill in a little bit in this area and control some of the other grasses so that it's not so grassy. There we have a Rudbeckia head that's bloomed out. Will also look nicely with that as it fills in. We're gonna take a walk over to the Lobelia cardinalis, passing some Helenium, Eupatorium kilistinum, looks like some Leucanthemum daisy, maybe some asters and the more Helenium, passing some Pycanthemum, more Eupatorium, a lot of grasses. And then here we are in our little patch of red lobelia. This has been in the ground for a couple years now, so it'll be interesting to see next year how much comes back on its own. Some of this has definitely been self-seeded and grown a little bit already since it's been planted here, but as a biannual, lobelia can't always be expected to just come back strongly every year. You may have to rough up the ground, like we said in that other video, and make sure that your plants are coming to seed head and then left to disperse in the ground. But it fills in really nicely, as you can see. If you have a ditch or a wet area, putting a couple of these in is a really great idea. It'll help control the water, the erosion, and attract hummingbirds. We keep our hummingbirds pretty happy here with these guys.